Liam Middleton. I'm the national men's sevens coach for Canada. My wife's name is Sarah. She's English, and I've got two young sons, Struan, who's 2.5, and Ethan, who's 9 months. I'm born and bred Zimbabwean. I lived there for most of my life, but I would say the majority of my working life has been spent in the UK, and I've been a professional coach for 13 years now. It's great to be in Victoria. This is a fantastic place, and particularly out here in Langford, and we're staying up near Bear Mountain. It's a fantastic place to live. You know, great scenery, and you know, it's got sort of a good outdoor feel to it. So we're settling in well. Obviously, it rains a lot more than I'm used to in Zimbabwe, but having spent so long in the UK, this is pretty standard. So no, we're enjoying getting into life here. It's almost a whole new life for us. I've coached international sevens for 10 years, since 2004, and I've got a real passion for the sevens game. I mean, the majority of my coaching, professional coaching, has been in the 15s game, but sevens has always been a big passion of mine, and the opportunity to join a team that's on the rise, that's competing in the World Series, which was a big thing for me. I wanted to coach on the circuit as a core team, to do all the tournaments rather than 4 or 5 a year, which I was doing with Zimbabwe. The upcoming Olympics and the opportunity to qualify for the Olympics is another big character, and I think those three things combined: a team on the rise, a team competing as a core team on the circuit, and the potential to be an Olympic team is a big draw for me. I started my development coaching at the Rugby Academy in Gloucester in the UK. I spent 8 years there. That's really where I built up a big experience in talent identification and development of young players. So that 8 years was crucial for me, and I was lucky to work with a couple of Canadian national team players who came to Hartbury on scholarship. After that, I joined the Rugby Football Union as a talent ID manager, with a specific focus on talent identification, not so much on development, but a real strong focus on talent ID. And I learned a huge amount in that time. I was really only there for 18 months, but the studies that I did and the research that I did into talent ID in rugby was a real insight for me. After that, I went into the RFU National Academy system at Bristol for 2 years, and then I was able to take my experience from Hartbury, from a talent ID perspective from the RFU, and put it together into talent ID development for players who wanted to go on, or who could go on and play for the Premiership, in the Premiership and international. Some of the key things that I wanted to get across to the team was the value around work ethic. And that's a big part of my coaching philosophy, that we want to train with intensity, we want to play with intensity, but work ethic is what binds everything that we do together. It binds all the technical elements. So the guys are, from a technical perspective, quite well versed in the sevens game. We went back to basics in the last week to bring everyone up to one standard of understanding of the basics. But for me, all those technical and tactical elements come together with work ethic, and that's one of the major values that I'll drive with the team. Yeah, I think if you look at the squad going to Dubai, you've got Moonlight, Mac, Duke in that side, and they're pretty influential players. There's a good balance in the squad going to Dubai in South Africa. There's a balance in terms of experience and leadership, and guys coming through reasonably inexperienced, and they're excited about their first tournament. But there's a core group there that have probably played for Canada Sevens for a good number of years. They know the game, they understand what's required on the world circuit, and they're going to be important for us going through the series, and particularly into the Olympic qualifier. Yeah, it's a challenge for us as a nation, because we have a lot of crossover of players. We haven't yet developed a player pool that's big enough to where a player can be specific to sevens or to 15s, and he can specialise in one of the two. So there's a fair bit of crossover, but I do think that in some cases there's a benefit to that. You know, it's not a negative thing, but it's a challenge in terms of certain parts of the season. You've got under 20s, sevens and 15s all operating at a national level all at once. and it's about making sure that all of our national teams are competitive when they can be. And that's the important thing for me, is we've got to remember that it's about Canada Rugby. It's not about Canada Sevens or Canada Under 20s or 15s. It's about Canada Rugby staying on the rise and being competitive on the international stage. So, you know, if we lose a couple of players to the 15s where they're going to compete and prepare for the World Cup, it does also mean that we bring through another group who get international experience, and that over a period of years will build up our player pool to be big enough where we may specialise for some players.